All right, I want to get to 3 follow-ups on stories we've covered on RFL, and let's start with that shakeup in the East Ramapo School District. State Department of Education, they've appointed a fiscal monitor to take a look at the books here and to keep the books going forward. The district, as many of you know, has a school board run mainly by Hasidim, and it is accused of steering taxpayer money to private religious schools. And the consequence is they've drained the public schools of funds here with some real tangible differences for the kids left in the school district. State Education Commissioner John King said, quote, "We look forward to continuing our work with Governor Cuomo to ensure that the children of East Ramapo have access to the best education possible." Going on to say that the tax dollars of the district's residents are spent fairly and appropriately. Dominic, you know the district as a Rockland resident here. This story has been percolating for a while. Tensions have been rising in different communities. We've been saying this on the show. This is long overdue, we think.
Well, let's put it this way, Richard. Full disclosure, my son graduated from this district, I think, 3 years ago. You have a mini Crown Heights boiling in East Ramapo, that school district.
That's a good way to put it.
You have a board that's run by all Hasidim, perfectly legal. They got the votes, they campaigned, they were elected. But they're making decisions for a mostly all-black Latino school district, and the money, for the most part, is not going to the kids that are enrolled in the system. Money's being funneled for Hasidim children to pay for their private education with public dollars. It is a mess. And frankly, the FBI should be taking over of this. It is a complete mess.
The real question is what kind of power the state monitor is going to have when it deals with these finances. Can it override the board and just direct the finances the way he sees fit, or is he just going to be able to work with the school board? Because that's going to be one of the sources of conflict there. And you know, how much leverage does the state have in this sort of thing? Otherwise, the next step, I think, would be a takeover of the school board.
And to put a face on this, we're not talking about some affluent school district where instead of having, the polo team or something, they're going to go without. The facilities are run down. They don't have like basic music programs, the sports programs.
Cutting back football teams. In one case, the state blocked a deal where one member of the Hasidim board sold an entire school building for $1.
$1. Yep.
$1.
And we're going to be continuing to follow this. I know we've reached out to some people who've been invested in this story, both from a reporting standpoint and also from a legal standpoint. So in the coming days and weeks, you're going to be hearing much more of that on this program. Hopefully we'll even get to talk to the monitor. Now, second issue, a bill designed to lighten the financial load of college students and graduates across America. Well, it failed to clear the Senate today. And if you want a little bit of an idea of what maybe the impact, not just of the Cantor election there in Virginia, but what gridlock can look like, take a look at this issue. Student loans. Legislation went down by a vote of 56 to 38. It would have affected an estimated 40 million people beginning paying lower interest rates on their loans. If you want to talk about a politically popular issue, this is it. Vast majority of Americans say it's crazy the interest rates that people are having to pay on those student loans, but nonetheless, the thing died. It would have been paid for, and there's actually a way to, show the revenue to make up for the shortfall through a minimum tax of 30% on Americans who earn between $1 and $2 million a year. I bet most of you thought they're already paying that. Think again. President Obama pushed for the passage of the bill earlier this week.
At a time when higher education has never been more important, it's also never been more expensive. Over the last 3 decades, the average tuition at a public university has more than tripled. At the same time, the typical family's income has gone up just 16%.
Okay, a couple civics things. The vote was 56-38, 56 in favor of and 38. So if you ask how it failed, it's that magic 60 vote threshold that they couldn't get to. That's basically pure and simple. So the minority, or the tyranny of the minority in this, have held back, again, doing the public's will on something like student loans. It's nuts. It's just nuts. And they actually found a way to pay for it. So you answered one of those arguments. Where are you going to find the money from?
But you mentioned the Cantor loss in the primary last night. This would have been defeated even had Cantor
I know
won
that, but
last
it's just
night.
symbolic of the fear, even if people know better, of like the far right or whatever else. But this is just
It's raising
stupid.
taxes. I mean, it pays for itself by raising taxes, and you've got a whole block of people in Congress that just won't raise taxes.
But
period.
again, 30% tax rate. I'm not talking about, I mean, it was 50, the same population under Reagan, right? We're talking about 30. And we're just, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know why I get surprised by stuff. This one, believe it or not, I know people said it was probably going to happen. I'm like, student loans? Isn't this motherhood and apple pie? The public would say, I'm for it.
Richard, don't be surprised, because just like you're a host here in New York, there's a host someplace in Mississippi or Idaho.
But they got student loans too, though, Don.
Or the exact, no, but they're ranting the exact opposite argument. How dare they want to raise our taxes to pay for those New Yorkers? That's the argument they sell, to go to pay for their college, and thus they voted down.
I don't know why I'm going to do this, Don, but my only point is there's college loans in Mississippi, and they're not raising their taxes.
But Andrew
it's people
said
making between 1 and 2 mil.
Andrew said it best, raising taxes. It's the American voters' fault. Until we get serious about our politics and vote based on our interests, you have these clowns in office that will continue where the bottom line is they're looking at Cantor, and what happened to Cantor is not going to happen to me. Go along to get along, period.
All right. Now, you might have thought this next one here was no longer on the books. Well, think again. Today, the New York Assembly, in a long overdue action, took up a bill that would ban therapists from administering something called gay conversion therapy. Yes, it is what it sounds like. This they want to stop for minors. This is an attempt for therapists to change the person's sexual orientation, to scare them back straight, I guess. The American Psychological Association says there is zero evidence that this thing actually works. And if you've seen some reporting on this thing can scar kids, basically tell them that there's something wrong with them from jump, and that they got to be fixed here, by a therapist to try and, make them right. Now, the bill, sponsored by Senator Brad Hoylman, who is the only openly gay member of the state Senate, he says, on one level, it's pretty nutty stuff, but it's happening in New York by licensed therapists. We always think in New York, well, it doesn't happen in New York, maybe Mississippi, to use your analogy.
Right.
It's still happening, man. That's crazy.
Richard, I can't believe what you just said. I mean, what? Am I going to go to therapy so next I won't be African American? I mean, is that next? I mean...
Don't me. I don't know, man.
I don't get it. I mean, maybe you can explain it to me. I don't get it.
Well, I mean, there are still rural parts of this state, the further away from New York City that you get, that share on some level a lot of the values that you would find in Mississippi or Alabama or Texas, where this is actually part of the platform of the Texas State Republican Republican Party. Not only that homosexual is wrong and should be illegal, but that gay conversion therapy, they support it.
Okay, well, let's end on a positive note. At least this is making its way through Albany right now, and hopefully this change will go officially on the books. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Now, coming up next, a new decision handed down in the BP oil spill case. But the question is, does the case hit a little too close to home for two Supreme Court justices who preside in this case? Our legal panel is going to join us when we talk about conflicts of interest and when recusal is the right way to go.